My wife Alana and I were at an upscale restaurant when I noticed my best friend in the world approaching our table. I quickly whispered to my wife, "Terrence Landis is coming this way. Do you remember that I told you how he's been my best friend since second grade? That's true, but be very careful around him. He's a huge womanizer. Luckily, my figure is far from extreme, so I should be safe," Alana replied softly. "Isn't he the friend who happens to be very wealthy?" she questioned. I nodded to my wife as I stood to shake Terrence's hand. He would have none of it. He wrapped his arms around me and gave me a hearty bear hug. It was a bit embarrassing in such a public setting. "Tim, it's damn good to see you again. It's been far too long since we've spent some time together," Terrence stated, as he slowly looked Alana over from head to toe, with his gaze lingering on her impressive chest. "Can I assume this is your lovely wife, Alana? I was in Singapore when you married her, but I did send a gift. I hope you've enjoyed it," he questioned. "You're the friend who sent Tim that new pickup truck, aren't you?" Alana gushed as she stood and held her arms out for a hug. "Alana, this is my best friend Terrence," I managed as he gently but firmly pushed me to the side so that he could gather Alana into his arms. "Terrence, meet my wife Alana. I've told her a lot about you." "You never mentioned he was so tall and good-looking," Alana quickly pointed out as she hugged Terrence longer than I felt was appropriate for a married woman. "What brings you to Daytona, Terrence?" Alana questioned. "I just purchased a condo over at the Dunes, and I'm having it remodeled. I'm renting a room at a local hotel and just stopped in for a lonely dinner," Terrence replied. "You bought a condo at the Dunes and you're remodeling it? They're practically brand new. I can't imagine you'd need to change very much," Alana responded. "I heard the smaller units begin at over $1 million. "That's true," Terrence agreed. "However, they have small bedrooms. They feel cramped to me. Luckily, a penthouse was available, so I purchased it. I'm having it painted and I'm replacing the furniture." It was obvious to me that Terrence was doing his best to impress Alana. He had always had the knack of determining what a woman was interested in and heading right to her happy place. Alana was a material girl to the extreme. I had a healthy income and more than a few bucks saved, but Alana seemed determined to spend us into the poorhouse. We were celebrating our 3rd anniversary, yet she seemed content to ignore me in favor of Terrence. It was so obvious some of the other diners were looking my way with apparent sympathy. "It appears the waiter is bringing out our meal, Alana. We should retake our seats and eat while it's still hot," I reasoned, thinking we'd be able to concentrate on each other once again. Alana didn't dispute anything I said, but she upped the stakes as she merely glanced at our steaks. "Terrence, you have to join us. Tim is always talking so fondly of you, and I'd like to get to know you better. My husband's best friend is my friend as well." "I hate to intrude on a romantic dinner," began Terrence as I nodded in understanding. "Nonsense!" Alana broke in immediately. "Waiter, Terrence will be joining us for dinner. Could you bring a table set for him? Thanks so much." The waiter turned on his heel and began his quest. In less than a minute, Terrence was seated at our table and monopolizing the conversation. I managed to win a game of solitaire on my phone as he and Alana discussed everything and anything. I was pretty much ignoring the entire conversation until I heard Alana use my name, as in addressing me. "Tim, we have 2 spare rooms. Why don't we have Terrence stay with us? You 2 guys could continue to catch up. Terrence would have the chance to enjoy some home cooking. His condo will be finished in a week or so. It wouldn't be any imposition at all." I was stunned at Alana's statement. She thought Terrence would enjoy her cooking? I had no doubt she'd be ordering some very expensive takeout meals from some very good restaurants, then placing it on her best china. Knowing Terrence as I did, I was reasonably certain that he would be eating at the Y by week's end. I had explained to her what a womanizer he was, and I had to admit it. Her body would please any connoisseur of fine dining. My first wife, Helen, had died after 22 years of marriage. She and Terrence had been great friends, but I never worried about them being inappropriate in any way. Helen was as trustworthy and loyal as a wife could possibly be. Sadly, she died from a sudden heart attack 5 years previously. I grieved for over a year before meeting Alana at a charity function. She was 11 years younger than I, but it didn't seem to matter to her. I soon proposed, and we'd been married just 3 years. It was Alana's second marriage. She had divorced her first husband after she caught him cheating, or so she claimed. One thing I would not do was cheat on my wife. It just wasn't in me, and Alana knew it. It didn't seem to require very much persuasion on Alana's part to convince Terrence to stay with us, unless you consider the considerable cleavage she displayed as she leaned toward him to catch his every word as persuasion. Her chest appeared to have a will of their own as they swayed, jiggled, bounced, and enthusiastically struggled to escape their confines. Terrence stared, transfixed in obvious appreciation. Naturally, Terrence didn't have to get up early in the morning to go to work. That is a curse reserved for those of us who don't have millions of dollars in the bank and more pouring in every day. Alana hadn't had a job since she had divorced her first husband. Apparently, she had done quite well in her divorce. She had me sign a prenuptial agreement stating I would never have any claim on her money regardless of how long we remained married. I was okay with it since I had a steady income stream from my investments as well as a very good job. When I came home Monday evening, Alana and Terrence seemed even more friendly than they had been at the restaurant the previous evening. Dinner was ready, and it was exceptionally good. I checked the trash can. As I had expected, I found containers from a local restaurant. Terrence and Alana were so wrapped up in their own little world that they never noticed when I left the living room in a bit of a huff and stomped up the stairs and went to bed. I failed at embarrassing myself, as they paid me no attention. I was quite surprised when I came home Wednesday evening and found Alana seemingly waiting for me. She was sitting on the expensive couch she just had to have. Next to her, far too close in my opinion, especially for a male friend she had recently met, sat Terrence. "Tim, we need to talk," was Alana's opening salvo. I was once again caught by surprise. It was only Wednesday. How in hell could Terrence have worked his magic that quickly? I knew he was good at everything he set his mind to, but this was impressive as hell. It was going to cost me more than a few bucks. I was sure of that. "Terrence and I have discovered that we're soulmates," Alana explained. "We didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. We both feel terrible about it, but there's no denying the incredibly strong attraction we feel for each other. Tim, I'm going to divorce you. As soon as it becomes final, I'll marry Terrence. Please don't try to talk me out of it. I'll be damned if I'll give up my house and half my life savings just because you couldn't keep your legs closed and this jerk couldn't keep his zip closed. I'll fight you every step of the way," I declared with more conviction than I felt. "That's so typical of an insecure little man," Alana declared with disdain. "I didn't marry you for money, and I don't want any when we divorce. Terrence and I both believe the divorce will go through much quicker if I just walk away with the money I brought into the marriage. What do you think, Tim? Is that incentive enough to grant me a quick divorce?" Alana demanded. "Where do you want me to sign?" I cleverly retorted. "I knew money meant more to you than I ever did. I'll be spending the next few nights with Terrence while we wait for his condo to be painted. I don't want to hear any complaints. No sniveling, crying, or whining," Alana insisted. I simply nodded, turned, and left for the nearest tavern. It's amazing how fast a divorce can go through the courts when the 3 people involved are eager for it, and one of them is very wealthy. A few months later, I was once again a single man. The weekend after my divorce was final, I returned to the same restaurant I had been to with Alana when she first met Terrence. I found him sitting at a table for 2, so I simply walked in and joined him. "Do you want to kiss my feet here in the restaurant or wait for a more private setting?" Terrence asked with a big grin. "I don't know how you can be so happy. You didn't have to ask Alana to marry you. Now she can go after you for fraud, breach of contract, blatant lying, or being such a prick to her," I answered. "Not going to happen," Terrence replied calmly. As usual, you don't see the big picture. Why don't you enlighten me then? I know Alana and she's nothing if not stubborn, vindictive, and mean as hell, I asked. You didn't feel that way when you asked her to marry you, did you? Terrence asked with a chuckle. Think about it. What was the final straw that made you decide you wanted to get rid of her? Terrence questioned. I don't know. Maybe it was finding out her damn personal trainer was porking her 3 times a week. For some reason, that tripped my switch. She had me over a barrel. If I went for a divorce, even for adultery, she would have gotten half of everything, plus spousal support. That's why I called you for suggestions. I never thought you'd get her to ask for a divorce by Wednesday, though. That was amazing. Your line of nonsense must have improved over the years, I added. It has more to do with how my portfolio has improved over the years. Once she realized how much money I had, she couldn't seduce me fast enough. I have to say that I'm going to miss her between the sheets. Being with your wife was one of the greatest highlights of my life, Terrence gleefully admitted. That particular talent of hers was what got me into the mess, I replied seriously. You did a great job getting me free from a gold-digging wife, but why aren't you more concerned about how she'll take being dumped? She might figure out the entire scheme. She may be a cheating woman, but she's a smart one, I questioned. Remember that I mentioned the big picture? Terrence asked. For an engagement gift, I gave Alana a weekend at the Ritz with a spa day included. You idiot! I spat at him. Didn't I tell you that Alana's stud, the personal trainer, was now working as a masseur at the Ritz? She could have run into him, I answered. Are you serious? I asked for him by name when I set up the spa date, Terrence revealed. Last night I decided to visit her, just to see how happy she was with her gift. Since I had paid for the room, I had a key. Fortunately, I also had my phone set to video. Not surprisingly, I found her exceedingly happy with her gift. She was with him? Do you have a video? She was cheating on you? I managed as I slowly organized my thoughts. You must have been very upset. Perhaps angry enough to break off the engagement? I questioned. Alana was devastated at my unforgiving attitude, Terrence responded with a smirk. It was the first time she had ever done anything like that. It would never happen again. I agreed with her on that. It won't be happening to me. She's out apartment shopping right now, at least between her sobs and curses. You owe me a dinner for getting her to state that she wanted a divorce on Wednesday, Terrence added with a wide smile. You saved me a fortune, bro. I'll be delighted to buy you dinner. You've always been there for me. Alana has no clue about relationships, but you do. That's what love is. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Mike Gallagher watched from his second-story bedroom window as his wife eagerly embraced Jake Williams, a man who claimed to be his best friend. This was their 5th date together, and as Mike watched and listened, he learned of their plan to further humiliate him. He told Christy in no uncertain terms he wanted to spend a whole week with her, but she put him off. Not a whole week, Jake, she said. Maybe a weekend, but only on one condition. What's that? He asked. You get Mike to pay for it, she said. He laughed. That's silly. I'm a lot richer than he is. I'll pay for it. No, you're forgetting the most important part of all this. And that is? He asked. Humiliating Mike. Come on, admit it. You get off on humiliating him, don't you? Pushing him around, making him feel worthless? Well, he is my best friend, you know. Nonsense. You love humiliating him almost as much as I do, she said. Look, Christy, let's end this charade. Come with me and dump that loser. I want to marry you and spend the rest of my life with you. She laughed. Tell you what, stud. Let me get him to foot the bill for a dirty weekend and we'll see, okay? Jake sighed, exasperated. Oh, it'll be dirty, all right, he said, getting back in his car. I'll talk to you soon, but don't keep me waiting for too long. You're already giving me blue balls. She watched as he left, then turned to the house she shared with her husband, Mike. Walking in, she began undressing as she made her way up the stairs. She saw Mike in the bedroom when she walked in, dropping her dress on the floor. She made her way into the bathroom and inspected herself, leaving the door open. "You probably heard what we were talking about. I'm leaving you for Jake. We're going on a dirty weekend somewhere and you're paying for it. Soon, I'll be leaving you to marry him." "I've been paying ever since I married you 3 years ago," Mike said sadly. "I thought we were good. I've done nothing but love you. Don't you love me?" She snorted. "How could I possibly stay in love with you?" she asked sarcastically. "You're nothing but a wimp who lets your best friend date your wife." She saw him sniffling on the bed. "Oh, grow up," she said. "Is that why you've been disrespecting me these last few months?" he asked weakly. "Why do you think?" she asked. She saw him look at her with lust in his eyes. Snorting, she shook her head. "Don't even think of it, wimp. There's no way I'm letting you touch me with that pathetic little pee-pee of yours. I'm calling a real man to come over. You can sit in the chair and watch if you want. Maybe take notes. Maybe I'll let you if you promise to be good." "Damn you, cheating woman," Mike said, getting off the bed. She watched as he went down the stairs. She followed him down and saw him reach for the door. "Where are you going? Off to pout somewhere? Maybe cry on your mama's shoulder like a baby?" she asked sarcastically. He looked at her with sadness in his eyes. He had taken all he could from her and swore he would take no more. "Goodbye, Christy," he said, slamming the door. She heard his car door open and then slam shut. A few seconds later, she watched as he drove off. Where was he going, she wondered. She shrugged her shoulders. Forget him, she thought. Good riddance to bad trash. She grabbed her phone and dialed a number. "Hey, lover," she cooed. "Wimpy is gone, so why don't you come over?" 3 days later, Michael pulled into the driveway. Opening the garage door from inside his car, he pulled in and closed the big door. He grabbed his briefcase and strode purposefully into the house. Christy was sitting at the kitchen table drinking a cup of coffee. He said nothing to her as he went into his home office. Curious, Christy went to his office door and tried to enter. The door was locked. Odd, she thought. He never locked this door. She knocked on the heavy wooden door and turned the knob when she heard the lock disengage. Opening the door, she saw him at his desk, looking at a map of something on his computer. She knew he was in the process of designing a housing tract along one of the area's many lakes and figured that's what he was looking at. "What do you want?" he asked curtly. For a moment, she was taken aback. He had never been abrupt with her before. But then again, she realized she had been rather disrespectful of him recently. "I was concerned. You left 3 days ago and I never heard from you. I tried calling your cell, but you never answered." "I'm sure you were," he said sarcastically. Christy stopped for a moment. Was this really her Mike? He looked like Mike, sounded like Mike, but there was something slightly different about him. Maybe she had pushed him too far. She tried reaching out to him, but he managed to avoid her advance. "Don't you want to give your wife a kiss? It's been 3 days since I last saw you." He looked at her for a moment as though she was an insect being examined under a microscope. He shook his head. "No," he said, turning back to his computer. "Please close the door on your way out." Christy was really confused by now. Her husband never refused her advances and always kissed her whenever he could. This man was cold. She closed the door to his office and went to the master bedroom to grab her phone. She dialed a number, and a man answered on the first ring. "Jake, he's back," Christy said. "But something's wrong. It's like he's a different person. He wouldn't even kiss me when he came in the house." "Don't worry about it, sweetie," Jake said. "He's probably just realized that you're leaving him and there's nothing he can do to stop it. I'll be over tonight and we'll get it all taken care of. Just let me talk to him for a few minutes." "Okay. You'd better be right." Michael heard her half of the conversation and smiled, turning back to his computer. That night, Jake pulled into the driveway. Christy opened the door and let him in, giving him a sloppy kiss as he entered. "Where is he?" Jake asked. She pointed to the office door. "He's been in there all day," she said. "Let me have a few words with him alone," Jake said as he walked to the office door. He knocked on the door after finding it locked. "Mike, it's me, Jake, your friend. Can we talk for a few minutes?" The door lock disengaged and Jake entered. "Close the door behind you," Michael said as Jake entered. "Sit," he commanded, pointing to an empty chair. Jake sat down as Michael poured himself a drink. "Aren't you going to offer your friend a drink?" Jake asked. Michael looked at him for a moment. "Friend? Are you really my friend?" Michael asked. Jake looked confused. Christy was right. This was not the weak beta male he was used to dealing with. "Of course, I'm your best friend, remember?" Michael chuckled. "Best friend? Tell me, what kind of a friend steals his friend's wife?" "Mike, I'm sorry," Jake began before Michael cut him off. "You want Christy, right?" Michael asked. Jake nodded his head. "How much is she worth to you?" "I don't know what you mean, Mike," Jake said. "Don't play dumb with me, Jake. You're a savvy businessman. You know there's always a price to be paid in any negotiation." "How much?" "I don't know." "What do you have in mind?" Jake asked. "I really like that new Bentley of yours. How much did you pay for that thing?" "I paid over $500,000 for it," Jake said. "I take it that it's paid for, right?" Michael asked. "Of course," Jake replied. "That would be a good start," Michael said. "What? You want me to hand over my Bentley in exchange for Christy?" Michael smiled. "Along with 25% of your net worth," Michael said. Jake's eyes widened. "That's over $50 million. You can't be serious." "It's exactly 52, 450, 389 according to my research. And I am serious. Very serious." "You want my car and 25% of my net worth in exchange for Christy?" Jake asked. Christy was right. This wasn't the man he was used to pushing around. "Why should I even consider it? I already have your wife." Michael pulled up a document on his computer and printed it out. He handed it to Jake. "Yes, but what do you think will happen once your board of directors and your shareholders get this? Think you'll still be rich and powerful once this hits the media?" "I doubt it," Michael said. "This is blackmail," Jake said, reading the letter that detailed everything he and Christy had done to Mike. "Perhaps. My offer is good until noon tomorrow. After 12, it goes up to 50% plus controlling shares of your company. You want Christy? That's my price." "That's highway robbery. You'll never get away with it," Jake wailed. "Maybe, maybe not," Michael said, sipping his drink. "You want her, although God only knows why, and that's my price. I tell you what, you agree to my offer, without condition, and I'll make sure the two of you spend the rest of your lives together. Isn't that what you want?" "Well, yeah. I would love to spend the rest of my life with Christy," Jake said. Michael smiled. "Agree to this, and I'll even make the two of you a celebratory dinner. What do you say?" "I'll need some time to think it over," Jake said. Michael nodded his head. "I'll give you until noon tomorrow. Now please, close the door on your way out," he added, indicating the meeting was over. Jake got up, confused, and left the office. He watched through the curtains as Jake and Christy left. He smiled and made a few calls. Christy didn't get home until early in the morning. He could hear the two of them talking in the driveway. "Just think," Jake said. "In a couple of days, we'll be able to start our new lives, free of Mike. Come on, let me come inside and get a taste of this," he added, grabbing Christy's back. She smiled and pulled his hand away. "Soon enough. I can't wait to have Mike serve us like a waiter." She kissed him and watched as he drove off. She entered the house and saw a light in her husband's office. Was he in there all this time, she wondered? She tried the door, but it was locked. "Mike," she asked. "Go away," Michael said. Christy decided not to push him any further. She was more than concerned about her husband's strange behavior and went on up to the master bedroom. The next day, Michael received a text from Jake. Deal. He replied with an offshore account number and instructions that he would be monitoring it to ensure the transaction was complete. Within a couple of hours, he verified the full amount had been transferred and instantly moved it out, splitting it up between several other accounts that only he had access to. He sent a text to Jake and Christy. Dinner tonight on me. Be here at 7 p.m. sharp. He headed out to get what he needed for the night's meal and was back in an hour working in the kitchen. He loved to cook, and there was something bittersweet about tonight's meal. Christy got home at about 6 that evening and went into the kitchen. She had never known her husband to cook, but he seemed to know his way around the kitchen. Whatever he was making, it smelled delicious. I didn't know you cooked, she said. He looked at her before replying. There's a lot about me you don't know. Maybe if you'd stayed home now and then you would have learned something. I did learn to fend for myself, though. Now go get ready. Your date will be here soon. She tried to kiss him on the cheek, but he moved his head to avoid her. She backed off and ran upstairs, a tear running down her face. What have I done? She asked herself. A few minutes before 7, Jake showed up and rang the doorbell. Michael answered the door and let him in. Jake handed him a set of keys to the Bentley and the signed paperwork. As promised, I'm parched. Can I have something to drink? Thank you for living up to your promise. I'll be giving you and Christy something to drink soon, Michael said, pocketing the keys. He was looking forward to driving the new Bentley. Soon, Christy came back downstairs, stunning in a short, backless dress that left nothing to the imagination. Michael noticed that she had taken off her rings. She walked to the dining room table as Michael pulled out a chair for her. She smiled at him as she sat down, but he didn't return the smile. Jake sat down as well, smiling like a Cheshire cat. You look lovely, my dear, he told her, kissing her hand. And I see you've taken off your rings. Good. She smiled as Michael brought 2 flutes of champagne and set them down. He went back to the kitchen and returned with a large dish. He removed the cover and they all took in the aroma of Michael's lasagna. That smells divine, Mike, Jake said. Perhaps you missed your true calling. Michael said nothing as he served 2 helpings, 1 on each plate. Christy looked at him. Aren't you going to join us? She asked. Michael shook his head. No. This is your dinner. Enjoy. He stood back and watched as the lovers toasted each other and sipped their champagne. He retreated to his office with a wry smile on his face. He glanced at his watch. Any time now, he thought. Sure enough, he heard 2 thumps. Looking into the dining room, he saw Christy and Jake slumped over. Good, he thought. They would be out for at least 6 hours. He changed clothes and got busy, stripping them both naked and tying their arms and legs around each other. Grabbing a wheeled cart from the garage, he took the 2 out, wrapping their unconscious bodies with heavy chains that had weights attached to them. He placed ball gags in their mouths in case they woke up before he reached his destination. It wasn't easy, but he managed to put both of them inside a large canvas bag he purchased just for this occasion. Using the cart and a portable engine lift, he placed them inside the Bentley's trunk, then closed and locked the lid. He got in the car and headed out. After reaching his destination a few hours later, he noticed movement from inside the bag and opened the top. 2 confused heads popped out of the bag and looked around at the darkness, scared. Michael approached them, taking a small taser with him. If you promise to remain quiet, I'll take the gags out and answer any questions you might have. But if you scream, I promise you won't like the results, he added, holding up the taser. They nodded their heads, so Michael pulled the gags out of their mouths. Where are we? Christy asked, terrified. Who are you? What's going on? Yeah, what the hell is going on? Asked scared Jake. According to my GPS, this is the exact location where your husband killed himself. Michael said. Killed himself? Christy asked. What are you talking about? Yes. He told me all about the way you had been treating him the last couple of years, cutting him off from intimacy, humiliating him. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot my manners. You probably think I'm Mike. Actually, I'm his twin brother, Michael. We not only share DNA, but we happen to have the same first name and the same middle initial. I warned him about you, Christy, but he wouldn't listen. You know, I came this close to saying something when the preacher said, if anyone has a reason why these two should not wed, but I didn't, he added, holding up 2 fingers very close to each other. You were at the wedding? I don't recall seeing you, Christy said. I was wearing a disguise. You see, Christy, while Mike and I have a lot in common, we're actually quite different. He was an easygoing man who got along with everyone. Unlike me, confrontation just didn't suit him. He loved you with all of his heart and was willing to put up with practically anything to make you happy. On the other hand, I saw right through you from the beginning. I knew you were a conniving, cheating woman who would cheat on him the first chance you got. I hoped I was wrong for his sake, but unfortunately I was right. Mike never said anything about having a brother, Christy asked. No, that was at my insistence. You see, officially I don't exist. I'd tell you why, but then I'd have to kill you. He laughed. Oh, wait. I know it's dark, so you probably don't recognize your surroundings, Michael added, after he finished laughing at his own joke. We're in the deepest part of Bottomless Lake, the same place where Mike ended it all just a few days ago. You see, he couldn't take what you had done to him anymore, and he took the easy way out. I tried to stop him, but he was inconsolable. Tears were running down Christy's face. He killed himself? She asked. I never wanted him dead. Michael snorted. Nonsense, cheating woman. You yourself said you didn't love him. You may as well have put a gun to his head and pulled the trigger. Michael looked at Jake. And you, jerk. You pretended to be his best friend. You never answered my question. What kind of a friend steals his friend's wife? The truth is, you never were his friend. You used him to get what you wanted. You enjoyed pushing him around, humiliating him at every chance. But you promised me we'd spend the rest of our lives together, Jake said. You lied to me. You cheated me. Michael laughed. I told you the two of you would spend the rest of your lives together. I just never told you that your lives would be cut drastically short. So yes, you will spend the rest of your lives together. You'll even die together. Rather fitting, since the two of you conspired against my brother. Please don't do this, Christy begged. Michael looked at her. Mike told me he said those same words to you before you humiliated him, but you just laughed in his face and told him to suck it up. Well, cheating woman, suck it up. You're crazy. You'll never get away with this, she said. Michael shrugged his shoulders. Maybe, maybe not. But once your suicide letter is found on your computer, it won't matter. I have to admit, though, it is a touching letter. Changing the subject, you do know that no one has ever found the bottom of this lake, right? And there's enough weight on that chain around you to make sure your descent is rapid. I estimate you two might last 60 seconds at most before you become unconscious. You might even live a few minutes afterward. At any rate, enjoy. Michael opened the bag fully and tipped it over until the 2 occupants went into the water, struggling. Bon voyage, he said, watching the bubbles come to the surface. Soon, the bubbles stopped. Michael started the boat's motor and headed back to the dock, using the marina's lights as a guide. He parked the boat, turned it off, and jumped inside the Bentley. He made a mental note to incinerate the bag so as to eliminate any evidence of its previous contents. He pulled out his phone and sent a text message. Done. A reply came back almost instantly. Thanks, bro. Enjoy the ride. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.